Hello and welcome to our webinar, Sustainable Centers of the Future in Germany, a webinar as part of the pre-program of the Start.up Germany tour. My name is Kim Zietlow and I am your host of today. I am Director Trend and Innovation Scouting at Germany Trade and Invest, Germany's federal economic development organization. So what is the whole Start.up Germany tour about? The tour has the objective to attract startups from all over the world to Germany and build bridges with all sorts of innovation stakeholders from the private and public sector. During the actual tour in November and the pre-program running online until then, international startups and entrepreneurs get the chance to participate in reverse corporate pitch events, virtual matchmakings, one-on-one meetings with companies, and learn about business culture and market entry to Germany. This year, the tour takes place for the 5th time. And it's fantastic that more than 40 German chambers of commerce abroad, the so-called AHKs, take part as international partners. And today, we have about 100 registrations from more than 25 countries, making not only the tour, but also the webinar today truly global and international. But the whole tour and also this event series would not be possible with strong organizers and partners. So first of all, let me thank the Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Dortmund, namely Dominik Stute and his team. Also, I want to thank the Chambers of Commerce and Industry in North Rhine-Westphalia, the Association of German Chambers of Commerce and Industry, then again, the German Chambers of Commerce abroad, making this a truly global initiative, and our local partners, the Ministry of Economy, Innovation, Digitization and Energy of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, and NRW Global Business, the Economic Development Organization of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia. So what are we going to do today here? What are we going to talk about? So first of all, we will provide an introduction to the German market, but also the Digital Hub Initiative, Germany's federal innovation ecosystem. And we will provide useful market entry information, all done and provided by my distinguished colleague, Stephanie. In our panel discussion, we will make a deep dive into the smart city technologies and application space in Germany with 3 fantastic speakers. So, first of all, I want to introduce Stephanie to you. Stephanie has 10 years of experience with GTAI. She advised hundreds of startups in terms of market entry to Germany. And I have the personal privilege that she's actually one of my teammates, being responsible for the internationalization of the Digital Hub Initiative on behalf of Germany's Federal Ministry for Economic Affairs and Energy. So, Stephanie, welcome on stage. It's great to have you here, and we're all looking forward to your presentation. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Kim, and thanks for the very kind introduction. I brought some slides with you, which I will be happy to share now. Just a second. So I can see, you can all see my screen now. So yeah, as Kim was saying, I've been working for Germany Trade and Invest for quite a while, and I'd like to give you a very short overview today about Germany Trade and Invest, about the German ecosystem, as well as some information about the Digital Hub Initiative. So what is Germany Trade and Invest, and what are we doing? We are the Economic Development Agency of Germany, and we do have more than 50 offices abroad throughout the whole world. We have 3 main pillars, let's say it this way. And the first one is that we support German companies when setting up a business abroad. And then the second one is that we promote Germany as a business location. And what goes hand in hand with that is that we assist foreign companies and foreign startups, as you guys, when setting up a business in Germany. And how do we do this? Well, we support you with your whole project from the very first beginning of your expansion strategy. So we provide you, for instance, with industry information, key market data about R&D, etc., etc. We also coordinate site visits and bring you together with all the relevant people you need to know when entering the German market. And of course, all our information is free of charge and treated with confidentially. So Let me tell you a little bit very briefly about the startup ecosystem in Germany. When we have a look at the year 2020, you see that despite the COVID pandemic, there have been quite a few funding rounds, as well as almost 3,000 startups been founded. So that's quite a lot, actually. And also regarding the money, there have been 5.3 billion euros invested in startups in Germany last year. When we look at the industries, ICT is leading, followed by food, retailer, consumer goods, and also healthcare, automotive, mobility, and logistics. When we look at the business models, it's probably not surprisingly that software as a service is leading up front, followed by online platforms, software development, and e-commerce. Here you see a selection of Germany's most successful, sorry, it's flipping all over, of Germany's most successful startups. All of them are ranked unicorns, and I'm pretty sure you know that we don't have as many unicorns, for instance, as the United States yet. But nevertheless, the number has been risen like steadily, and so this year we really quite have some few unicorns in all different fields of industries, ranging from fintech, transportation, etc., etc. And for you, when it comes to scaling to Germany, and when you look at the German market and see, okay, why should I come to Germany, and what's in there for me, we brought 9 reasons for you to actually have like a reason to come to Germany. The first one is that Germany is the leading economy. So we are basically Europe's economic engine, and with a really large domestic market. Secondly, we are the world's number 3 exporter, and we also have one of the highest productivity rates in the whole world. We also have a very good education systems with, for instance, our vocational training, which means that not only people get their education at universities, but also can get training on site in companies. So Germany is really famous for this education system. And also we are Europe's number 1 location for research. Here are some more reasons. One is the first-class infrastructure, and also Germany is Europe's number 1 logistics market, and we are basically centered in the heart of Europe. So whenever you need to go anywhere from Germany, it's really easy to touch upon all the other states within Europe and throughout. We also have very inviting incentives, for instance, for the reimbursement of direct investment costs, and also incentives for labor and R&D. Also, we have quite competitive tax conditions, and last but not least, we really have a high quality of life. In the beginning, I was saying there are 10 reasons for you to come to Germany, and the 10th reason is actually the Digital Hub initiative from my point of view, and I will tell you a little bit more about that in a second. But before I do that, this is like an overview, because really in a nutshell, what we do, we want to support you, we want to assist you when setting up a business in Germany. So whenever you have a question regarding coming to Germany, meaning with visa and entry regulations, about establishing a company, and all about like financing and incentives, meaning incentive programs, taxation, customs, and all that, but also employees and social security, please get in touch with us, and we will be happy to support you. So, what is the Digital Hub initiative? Kim was mentioning it right at the beginning. It is an initiative by the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy, and it started 4 years ago in 2017. Our goal is, well, actually for Germany, to become a digital ecosystem of global importance, meaning that we want to foster digitization, we want to foster innovation, and we want to bring together all the relevant players and people in order to achieve this goal. So what do? We are getting together startups not only from Germany, but also from abroad and all kinds of countries, with SMEs and corporates, academia, politicians, etc., in order to create win-win situations and to work on new digital solutions and to work on new digital products. Here you see the map of Germany, and you see 12 little red dots. all of these dots represent one of our digital hubs. And as you can see, all of the countries, or all of the clusters and the hubs have different industry focuses. So, for instance, which is the most important or interesting one for you probably at the moment, is the one in Leipzig, which covers the topic of smart infrastructure. And I'm very happy that we have Dennis with us later on in our panel discussion. But then again, all of these hubs, or a lot of them, deal with the topic also of smart cities and related fields, and all of the hubs are connected. So you don't need to go to Leipzig in order to be part of the network. You can also match with another hub wherever. Since the beginning, we had more than 2,500 startups joining our network, and also more than 2,000 SMEs, as well as a large number of international corporates and scientific and academic institutes. Here are some more numbers. So what's most interesting for you, I guess, would be that we successfully established more than 500 collaborations between SMEs or corporates with startups, and that there has been 1.4 billion VC money invested in startups from our initiative since the beginning. Here you see very quickly, very briefly, 3 examples of one of the collaborations that we are trying to foster. One is you probably all are familiar with Volkswagen, and they are doing a cooperation with one of the DE Hub startups called Wandelbots in Dresden, and it is a very successful robotics startups, and they are producing like sensor jackets in order to train robots. Same applies for another startup from the Hub Initiative. It's called Motion Miner, and they basically are a fitness tracker for companies in order to make processes more efficiently. And they were or are still collaborating with Rinis in the field of logistics. And the third example is Deutsche Bahn, which you probably all know too. And they are cooperating with SmartLane in the field of a planning software, which then again was quite helpful for Deutsche Bahn. So this is just 3 examples. I just wanted to show you that you could be on that slide as well, meaning that you could also cooperate with SMEs or corporates within the initiative. And what do we do beyond that? Well, we have lots of activities on a national and an international level. So, for instance, there are a lot of accelerating programs in our hubs. So, for you guys, really a good chance to get your business going and growing, obviously. And we have like expert discussions. We do our own events, as this webinar today, for example. But you will also find us, for instance, at the big tech conferences throughout the world, meaning the Web Summit in Lisbon, the Viva Tech in Paris, Next Web in Amsterdam in a few weeks. So you will all meet us there in case you are planning to visit those events. And we're also doing VC dinners, international networking events, etc. So this, just very briefly in a nutshell, is the Digital Hub initiative. We are really inviting you to join our initiative. And in case you have any questions regarding the initiative or setting up the business in Germany, please feel free to contact us. And I hope to see you either soon in November at the Startup Germany tour, or maybe later on at a video call or conference bilaterally. But now I give the mic back to Kim, and I'm looking forward to the panel discussion.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. Thanks for the introduction to Germany and also the Digital Hub initiative. And yes, we're not only sitting here in Germany, we actually travel to events. Now we actually come to the countries and the locations where exciting and people, entrepreneurs, companies, and startups can be found. So thanks a lot, Stephanie. Let's move to the topic of today, smart cities. I mean, smart cities, can be seen as a buzzword, but also as a driver of digitization and driver of change. A lot of countries and cities, municipalities and regions all over the world deal with smart cities. Urban living, the way we connect, the way we move, the way we live, the way we build things in an urban context changes over time. and digitization plays a big role here. In terms of smart city development, it's a lot about technologies and applications, and it's a space which is particularly interesting because the public and private sectors are coming together here, and without this collaboration, it wouldn't be possible to drive this field further. So today in our panel, we have 3 experts who cover all of these fields, and I'm very happy to introduce our guests for today. So first of all, Robert Compton. He's a fellow GTAI colleague. He has been with GTAI for more than 6 years. He's leading the energy efficiency and smart city practice in our organization. And he has worked with numerous hundreds of companies in terms of market entry to Germany. So welcome on stage. Hello, Rob.
Hi, Tim.
So the next one is Dennis Birkölzer. Dennis is a consultant at SpinLab in Leipzig, one of the hubs that Steffi mentioned, the digital hub smart infrastructure. But also he's an innovation consultant with the European Commission. And previously, he was a consultant at the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, so-called EIT Digital, which is a pan-European initiative co-founded by the European Union. So Dennis brings a lot of experience with him in terms of innovation in the public space, in the private space, and especially in between. So thank you for being with us, Dennis.
Thanks for the introduction, Kim.
And we have Jürgen Richter with us. He's a true professional in the field of smart city. Jürgen is working as a management consultant at Deticon International, the consulting subsidiary of Deutsche Telekom. And he's done that for over 22 years. As a project manager, he led the ICT consulting projects on 4 continents until 2015. And for the last 6 years, he focused on smart city and smart region projects in Germany and the European Union. He's currently the program manager for a 3-year monitoring and evaluation project of the Ministry of Economics and Digitization of the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, with the objective to support the digital transformation in the almost 400 municipalities of this state. So I hope he will join us on stage in a minute, yeah. We're very happy to have him here. Thank you, Jürgen. So, until Jürgen finds its way on stage, nevertheless, I guess we can start with basically the beginning of our discussion. And when we talk about a buzzword like smart city, I guess it's very important to just find common ground here. What actually is smart city? What's behind it? Because there is not this one clear definition in the market which says, okay, now you can find it in a dictionary and everybody knows what it's about. So smart city can deal with energy, mobility, water, waste, and so many other fields. But it also has something in common. So Rob, what is smart city for you? How would you define it?
It's a really good question, Kim. And as you alluded to there, a lot of people define it in different ways. And I think it's also something that's we've seen change over time. I think people used to think smart city meant sort of a monolithic, big data driven sort of monitoring control sort of system. And I think over time that's the definition has broadened massively. And I'm sure in some parts of the world it's still seen that way, but my definition is that it's any urban technology, often data-based, but not always, that's there to improve quality of life and make our cities more livable, that are all based around the citizen, the citizen in the center. In the best cases, there's also citizen participation involved, but it's all the technologies that move around smart urban planning, mobility and transportation, as you mentioned. Also, my personal specialization is then smart and efficient buildings. That can then also be broadened out into sustainable water, climate resilience, dealing with floods and droughts, cities that are adaptable and flexible, that are smart and efficient energy systems, so smart grids, smart metering, things like that also fall under the definition of smart city. But also the more traditional things like e-government, access to services, and also smart healthcare, smart education. We're seeing a lot more happen in that area too. So it's a definition that's constantly in flux, and I think everyone defines it slightly differently, but that's sort of where the common ground seems to be.
Yeah, what I understand is it actually helps to look at it from a user perspective. Now, we're basically looking at what comes out, who benefits from it, and I guess you quite specifically put the actual end user in the middle of the discussion, who can then benefit from quite a range of new technologies and services that can be provided not only by the private sector but also by public, right?
That's why things have changed, I think, from the older monolithic view of the city was the only customer and it was solely data-based, and there the citizens weren't the focus, and I think we've seen that change over time.
Yeah. So, Dennis, would you agree to this view?
Sadly, yes. For me, I also thought about this, but I'm totally with Rob here. It's about participation. It's about feeling connected also to the city. And I think like the easier access to data and to participate on a data-driven level gets you closer to the city and helps you to also shape it. So for me, the smart city is not even only from a data perspective, but also from a city perspective, something that's not like a big monolithic infrastructure, but something that's more modular, where things can be changed, where new players come in and make mobility more efficient, or the energy consumption or energy distribution more efficient. So something that even like a big, like we've seen changes in IT infrastructure, which I think Jürgen knows also some things about. Smart city is a city that can react to change fast, and which can adapt to changes faster, and where it's easy to participate and really be part of everything that is surrounding you. That's a smart city.
That sounds like a beautiful utopia, how you describe it. It seems like everybody wants to live in a smart city then. But on the other hand side, I can imagine combining so many different actors and so many different technologies, all data-driven, is also a pretty complex undertaking. And probably there are major challenges to implement an actual smart city. So Jürgen, thanks for joining on stage here with us. Over to you. I mean, you know the practice field quite a lot. Cities, and you help cities to become actually smart. What does it mean? To make a city smart.
Yeah, I'll ask it always at the beginning of my workshops to the different stakeholders from the city. So I'm doing a lot of municipality workshops on this topic by the Ministry of Economics and Digitalization in the federal state of North Rhine-Westphalia. And then I get a bunch of different terms, 30 to 50 terms, if I ask what is smart for you. So we have to start in the workshop to find a common understanding of the term smart and smart city. And it's starting from clever till e-government solutions, and you have a very large bunch of different terms. At the end, we are arriving at a definition which is close to the famous Leipzig Charter, and this is how to improve the well-being of the citizen of a city by digital technology. So we have to define first where do we want to go, which play field is the most important one. Is it mobility? Is it education? Is it health? Is it e-government? And then if we have defined a number of playing fields and prioritize them, then we look for the digital technologies who could support in this respect.
Does it also mean then when you put the citizen in a city in the center of the discussion, in the improvement of his or her life, or our livelihoods, well-being, is then smart city a city topic, or can it also be seen on a broader level? I mean, you said you're working with the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, but nevertheless with individual municipalities. But that can also become probably very detailed, and when you reach out, to the individual cities and municipalities? How is this connected?
It is connected that we have to measure first the level of digitization of every city. The approach, do they have already a digitalization strategy or not? Some cities, they had no money, no idea, no support from no one, and they have to deal now with the terms smart city, which is a buzzword at the moment, of course, in Germany, and they want to know what is behind it. Is this just digital technology where people are sometimes afraid of that they can't deal with them? And on the other hand side, is it to improve the well-being of the people? That means we have to define it, to bring it to the people, that it's just a concept which has to be transferred and which has to be first understand by a strategy for each and every city or county in the different states.
So now you're talking about, you mentioned the term strategy. I mean, whenever there's transformation, I think it's always good to start with a strategy to define where you want to go and how you want to get there. But how difficult is it to implement such a strategy? How does a city actually become smart? Now that we define what a city understands as smart, and what the ultimate objective is. How do you actually get there? I mean, you cannot just press a button and then from one day to another, the city became smart because you prepared a little bit something, right?
Of course. You have to get the main stakeholder on the table. So politicians, it's administration, it's the citizens, the companies and universities on one table, and let's define what do you want. And first thing is, in many cases, get a common understanding and defining together a smart city strategy for the city or for the county. And this needs time, this needs money. And then after this strategy, you can then go into the implementation of the different playing fields. And this is mainly guided by big funding programs in Germany, because cities are poor, cities don't have the funding, cities don't get the money. Only in a very few cases you get some funding from local companies, but in most cases they have to fund it on their own. And that's why the major result is, let's look for funding opportunities by the German government or by the local government in North Rhine-Westphalia.
Okay, now that this is probably a key challenge to this whole field. Because when we talk about digitization, usually it happens, or the market is a privately driven market. So there is always a customer, and the customer can pay for it if there is a solution that's adapted to the needs of the customers. But in this case, bringing the public in makes it seems a bit more complex, and maybe this is even an understatement.
That's true, especially the tendering process. If you want to get a project with a city, that's so much more complex than with a normal company, because the process takes from the first day till the final assignment of a company to implement a solution, half a year to a year, and this is so much more time wasting than just with a company. Yep.
Yeah, totally. And we will come to this topic later in our discussion when we talk about more this, how actually companies can participate in the whole smart city market, and finally actually make money with it. Especially, our audience is global today, and these companies have an interest in entering the German market in the first place. So let's come to that later. First of all, I would like to dig a little bit deeper into the actual technologies and the actual trends in the market. Now we mentioned, smart city, activities. The whole space consists of quite a range of topics. Dennis, working, in terms of with SpinLab, in this whole space. What kind of topics do you deal with, and where do you see big potential for change and transformation?
So the biggest issue we are addressing at the moment with the Spin Lab, our acceleration program, is the energy. As we are in a region, so our accelerator is based in Leipzig. It's a state in Saxony, highly dependent on coal, which is running, let's say, out of business in the upcoming 10 to 15 years. So we need the transformation in terms of energy and green energy consumption. So all our main issues we are addressing at the moment is how to get clean energy into the distributing systems and how to do this in a sustainable way, that it's just not like a pilot that is be done to some kind of greenwashing ideas, but together with the city of Leipzig, startups and local stakeholders, we are currently implementing new innovative solutions in how to get distributed small, for example, solar farms on the net. We are testing bigger applications of how to get like green hydrogen and pyrolysis. So we are dealing here with highly complex sites we are setting up, and together with the city and research facilities thinking how these can be implemented, that it's not for like a testing phase, but also how we can address this for very future looking strategy. So energy is the most important thing, and how to do this in a sustainable and environmentally friendly way.
And then asking Rob, I mean, you have been working in the field of energy efficiency for many years. I mean, attracting companies from all over the world to come to Germany, especially in this field. So what are your experiences? I mean, is there actually a demand from abroad to participate in these fields in Germany?
Yeah,
and what type of companies do you talk to?
It's very broad, and at GTAI we're set up according to industry, so we have industry specialists across the board, and I'm on the energy, building and environmental technology team, which fits quite nicely with smart city in a lot of respects. And we talk with everything. We talk with large multinationals that are looking to set up new subsidiaries in Germany, and we also talk with, especially in the smart city space, we have a lot of smaller companies, even startups as well, that are looking to take maybe their first step into an international market. And so we deal with all sizes of companies. As Dennis said, obviously energy is a huge focus, and it's the focus of my team as well. And we see companies at the moment, we're seeing everything in smart grid, smart metering, energy management systems and buildings, a lot of smart home solutions, things like that on the consumer side, but we also have on the city side as well. We also, on the infrastructure side, we're also seeing a lot of things there. It's all in spaces that you'd expect. So it's in digitization, which, by the way, Corona has given a huge push to. So there's a big push towards digitalization and decarbonization, obviously also a mega trend at the moment, and that fits again with energy. But we also have a lot of companies, they look at the first question we always ask is, why Germany? Why are you looking at Germany? What is it about Germany that's drawn you to this market? And quite often it'll be specific things. Germany having the largest building stock in Europe. So there's 22 million buildings in Germany, the vast majority of which were built before there were energy efficiency standards towards the end of the 70s. And so there's a huge potential there. There's a huge potential market. There's a lot of work to be done towards decarbonizing heating systems. And the smart city aspect of that is when you look at what are the neighborhood solutions? How can we move into neighborhood renovation? How can we move into district heating, district cooling networks of the new generation that are digitally controlled with storage capacities and that digital layer on top? So the focus that I see from my perspective, admittedly on the energy and buildings team, is definitely in the energy space and the buildings technology space. That seems to be the German lean on the smart city thing, but it's across the board. You know, smart city is obviously very broad. Also in the mobility space, I know the colleagues on our transportation team are inundated at the moment with digital solutions, decarbonized solutions.
And Jürgen, in your projects in North Rhine-Westphalia, are they also predominantly about energy efficiency and building, or what are the hot topics, or over there?
The hot challenges are, apart from funding, of course, it's professional project management. So cities are looking for someone who's taking care of the management of the project they got funded. And then since there has been a lot of projects already implemented in some cities, everybody is looking for the subsequent use of these solutions in the neighbor cities or in the neighbor counties. So this is one of the challenges. How can I reuse the solution? Can I do it? Do I have to pay for the license? Do I have to pay for the implementation, etc.? So these are the challenges at the moment. And apart from this, of course, topics, cities and the administration, they have a lot of buildings. BIM, building innovation management, is a very big topic. Energy, of course, but this is then part. In most cases, energy is done by a local company. So you have to divide between what is in charge of the local or municipality companies and what is in charge of the administration and the politics. That's why these are energy, of course, energy, building, innovation management, and of course, mobility are the key topics. And of course, since Corona, health is now one of the biggest topics where cities are striving or struggling to cope with the daily situation.
Yeah, let's talk a bit more about then the practical implementation. I mean, you mentioned already some problems, in implementing some practical matters. You mentioned funding and project management, but there are also how do cities actually get their projects then finally done? What are key aspects where they can interact eventually, or then also hopefully effectively and efficiently with other stakeholders? How do you actually manage this? Because this is this collaboration is also a key aspect in the digital hub ecosystem, where the hubs want to provide the platforms and want to provide the facilitation to bring actually the different actors together to drive this innovation then eventually. So do you have any established platforms, some programs or approaches, how to bring the actors together?
Yeah, you already mentioned the hubs in Cologne and in Dortmund, the two big hubs. Apart from this, we have the big funding program by the Ministry of Economics and Digitalization of over 100 million euro over time spent on 3 years, and they support and promote digital transformation project in the cities in North Rhine-Westphalia. But every city has then to build up its own ecosystem. So they are looking for who could help us. Of course, they are first looking at the local companies, and for example, the biggest success in the whole program, which is still running. So the end is mid of next year, and then most of the project can offer a subsequent use. But at the moment, it's for example in Gelsenkirchen, famous for the German soccer club Schalke 04, and in Aachen. These two cities are working together with a local company in Gelsenkirchen called Sciences in order to introduce a smartphone citizen ID in order to apply for all kind of different local government services. And this is the best example of how can local communities work together with local startups in order to drive a topic. And this topic is now so hot that it's very probable that it can be scaled up on national level too. So it started from a town together with a small startup. The startup is now became a little bit bigger and could become a national level importance. The ecosystem started from the respective cities, of course, supported by the federal state government of North Rhine-Westphalia, but every city is doing and looking on its own for an ecosystem in order to drive the topic.
So that makes the market, of course, very fragmented on the one hand side, but on the other hand side, there seems to be enormous potential to participate in this market. Because we're not talking only about North Rhine-Westphalia here. Dennis is from the Leipzig region, but nevertheless, this is a topic for the whole of Germany and even beyond. I mean, every city has to deal with these challenges nowadays. So Dennis, I think you already posted your information about your acceleration program, I guess, in the event chat. Maybe you want to put it on stage as well. But let's talk about this program and how you, as the Spin Lab, as the hub, interact with foreign startups. I mean, not only foreign startups, but also German startups. But how do you bring these startups together? How do you work with them? And connect them in the field of the smart city technologies and then running actually applications.
Yeah, so I want to add something to Jürgen. That, for example, here in Leipzig, we are lucky that we've got an own unit from the city of Leipzig that is in charge of digital affairs and digital ideas. We are tightly connected also with the Department of Economic Affairs of the city of Leipzig, so that we've got the relevant players on the one side who could finance this pilot somehow, and on the other hand, who have got like the expertise when it comes to digital issues, but also when it comes to the expertise in how a municipality is running. It's not like a startup, so we need someone to translate the language of the startup to the language of the city. And there we as a hub have got the right connections with the city, with the research facilities, and also with established players on the market, like, for example, an equivalent to Jürgen here in the Leipzig region. For foreign startups, there are some hurdles when it comes to the language and the bureaucracy on how Germany is operating, especially when it comes to municipality projects. And we are also, in this case, a translator how to establish projects. We help startups who join our acceleration program to really facilitate pilot projects on the German market with relevant German corporates and public players. And for finding these startups, we do a lot of research, but we are lucky to have also what we call ambassadors in a lot of countries all over the world, also with the help of GTAI, connecting us with local players who can spread the word about our program and help us to connect also with local ecosystems, because local ecosystems really are the key here to connect with relevant players, to get to know the relevant players, and to get honest feedback on how I can really work on the market and what I should pay attention to. So local ecosystems need to be connected, and you need good partners to do so. We are one here for the Leipzig region. GTAI and the AHK are players to connect us also with external players and connect also the rest, the many external ecosystem also back with the German and relevant players for the startups. And we're there to help you.
Yeah, I guess this connectivity, knowing the right people, knowing the right access points is key. I mean, that's probably in every market the same. But now that we're talking about, let's say, tendering processes, public actors as potential clients, that makes things a lot more difficult, and also sales cycles, might be, quite longer than compared to, private sector business development. Rob, when you talk to foreign companies, I mean, you advise them. You don't only attract them to Germany, when you got them, with you, but also, you're a consultant to them. And your goal is eventually to make them successful in the German market. I mean, settling down and become successful. But these obstacles are present. What are your key insights here? What can you recommend to foreign companies that want to actually take the chance in the German market in that space?
Sure. Just to add on to what Dennis said, really, I can continue on from there. I think the first step is to say that you're looking to set up a presence in Germany. You'd be surprised how many companies approach us, me, and other team members and say, we want to get in contact with German municipalities. We've got this great product or this great system that we want to sell or work with German municipalities. They say, great, how many people are you going to have on the ground in Germany? They say, we're going to do it from abroad. And I think, okay, it's a challenge if you're a German company on the ground in Germany. It's enough of a challenge. You need to be here, and you need to be part of an ecosystem, as Dennis said. Having that assistance there, having contact into the right people in those municipalities is essential. And there's also a lot of municipalities in Germany. It's an interesting selling point about Germany is that there are actually more than 80 cities with 100,000 citizens. Which is actually almost unique on a German platform. So Germany is a very interesting market in that regard. What we do as GTAI to assist those companies is we can help them through the bureaucracy of setting up initially. We can help with initial location shortlisting. We can talk with companies about how corporate taxation, how they can employ their first people, how they can find office space, how they can incorporate that GmbH, if that's the company form that they're looking to set up. So all of that assistance comes from us. And we also can point out who are the local players, who are the local organizations, where are the clusters, which municipalities are potentially particularly active in a specific area, what are the funding opportunities that are available. It's also a point that Jürgen mentioned. It's also, just as a general fact, interesting for international companies is that there's a huge smart cities program run by the Federal Ministry for the Interior. It's 350 million euro smart city model project program. I think that's what Jürgen was referring to, and that's just been topped up with an additional €500 million. So that's
a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
So what I get from you, from basically all of you, is there is a huge market. There's a huge public funding involved. On a smaller level, of course, it might be difficult for some cities to actually make use of that money and make it available. But nevertheless, there is a huge market for companies to participate. But on the other hand side, it's a difficult market. So you have to really make your homework, segment the market, target the customers, know exactly what you want to do, where you fit in, and then finding the right people and the right access points. So Jürgen, in North Rhine-Westphalia with your municipalities, do they usually deal with German, companies and service providers, or do you also see connections with foreign players?
At the moment, it's only German companies they're dealing with, especially companies which are nearby. So since German municipalities are quite conservative, they want to have, especially in the times before Corona started, they want to have someone to talk to in presence. So they don't want to travel 100 kilometers. So they're looking for someone who is nearby. Let's talk about this. How do we do the project manager, etc. So it's a very complex thing, but it's local business, and you need someone who can come there in half an hour to discuss some kind of things. So it's at the moment it's local business, but if I'm looking at the tendering process, they are promoting or supporting more and more that small and medium companies should apply and not the big companies. So they want to have the startup scene. They want to have small companies with very innovative ideas. So this is their target. So in this respect, they developed and they are looking for the solutions. And what I really could recommend, because it's still people business and eye-to-eye business, that if someone is interested, we have one time a year the Smart Country Convention, which is the biggest exhibition on German ground and even on the European ground behind Barcelona. Barcelona is perhaps a little bit bigger, but it's number 2, I think, in Europe after Barcelona. And please come to the exhibition. Perhaps you can collaborate with German Trade and Invest with a perhaps common exhibition booth. No idea how it's working at the moment, but this is where you meet everyone. And this is the best case to contact prospects, to get in touch with them and to talk about the solutions you can provide and the challenges the respective municipalities have.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning these aspects on the cultural level, and on a business development level, because I guess this is not only particular for Germany. It makes it it's even more particular in the field of smart city technologies and dealing with public entities. That knowing Germany, knowing the German business culture, knowing the public sector culture of procurement, I guess it's very important. And the Smart City Expo in Barcelona, one of the biggest events in Europe in this field and even globally. But also the eWorld in Essen in North Rhine-Westphalia, very important event. They were just mentioned by actually Dennis Boss, the CEO of SpinLab. He published an article yesterday actually about smart cities and startups and investors, and he also particularly mentioned the difficulty and the challenges in terms of business development and also meeting the right actors. That it's a bit more old school, going to these trade fairs, meeting the people. What you said, this face-to-face meetings are still maybe more common than in other spaces. But on the other hand side, Dennis, I mean, you try to basically speed up this connection between the startups and the actual markets, and improve their market readiness and run pilot projects. How much do you focus on such aspects? How do you prepare them not only in terms of the product, but also basically market adaptation to Germany?
Yeah, so we aren't experts in intercultural differences, but we are experts on how to work on a German market. And we try to educate the startups from foreign markets coming to us in how to do sales in Germany. We don't say, okay, this is how you do it in your home country, and this is how it has to be done in Germany. We try to communicate the common elements on how to do strategic and operational sales, and focus on the education of startups in how to get financing, how to do sales, how to do marketing, no matter what their culture background is. So we prepare them for German and the whole DACH region, to approach relevant partners, for example, to partner or customers to sell to. And for this, to even make it more flexible for startups, we do it not only on-site here in Leipzig, but also with the help of an e-learning platform where all the material we present there is written in English. So to make it very easy to access the German market and not be like hindered just by the language.
Okay, so that's probably very helpful for startups that cannot place a German-speaking team member already on the ground with the knowledge. So you try to facilitate this connection through that.
Yes, and
can you?
also we are always the connecting link when it comes to public projects, because this is a very difficult kind of language they are speaking. Even for Germans not working in public facilities, it's an own kind of language you speak there in municipalities.
Yeah, that's, as we mentioned before, not even for German actors. This is easy, and nevertheless, then also for foreign actors. So we have one question here from the chat. Actually, I want to pick up, and that is, maybe Dennis, directed to you. Can you give a concrete example in terms of a project, for instance, from your accelerator program, where you matched a corporate partner with a startup?
Yes, I mentioned that we partner with a corporate from the coal industry. Coal can not longer be like digged up from the ground, and they need to transform the whole business. And as they are from the energy sector, they build a huge solar farm with one of our startups and smaller distributed solar farms. And one of our startups called Energiekoppler worked on how to get the energy from small distributed solar farms secure into the energy grid. And we do a lot of energy programs. We also did something on safety and security by drones. So where drones flew along the energy lines and see if there's like any trenches from the trees hanging into the energy grid. And so they got rid of the helicopter flights and just did it with small drone fleets. So we always try to do applicable pilot project with every startup that applies to our program.
All right. Thank you for that. Now, looking at the time, we are closely getting to the end of the webinar already. I guess we can continue talking about the topics of smart city a lot more. We haven't covered probably at all. It's a massive disruption in the market, massive trend, huge potential. What we talked about. But just as a closing round, I would like every one of you, to answer like a final question, and that's what is your key takeaway point here, and basically your key recommendation for a foreign audience, that have our audience are startups, are entrepreneurs, and companies from abroad with an interest in participating in the market. Let's start our round with Rob.
Thanks, Kim. So I think my main piece of advice would be to a company that's maybe just beyond the startup stage, that's that my team would be looking after, is to come and get in contact with us before you start setting feet, before you try to start up in Germany. Come and have a talk to us at least. We work free of charge. So we're funded by the Ministry for Economic Affairs, which means we offer our services for free. We have 50 offices around the world, so we're easy to come and find. You can come and find us at Barcelona at the Smart City Expo World Congress. We'll be there with the Germany Works stand, and then quite a large team who can come and talk to us directly. We'll also obviously be at the events in Berlin as well. That would be the takeaway. Come and talk to us. Okay,
that's a direct call to action. Jürgen, what can you recommend?
Yeah, I could recommend that they should talk to someone like Robert Compton and of course GTAI in order to support local presence in Germany. You have to be here to talk to the people, to understand the different scope we have. For example, citizen participation is a very big topic in all new tendering processes. Citizen participation, how to get the citizen involved into the city development process is so important that you have to understand it, that you are not going to a mayor or the CFO of a city and then you get a project. That's not so easy. The stakeholder landscape is quite a vast one, and this has to be taken into account. And come to Germany, talk to GDA, and come to the exhibitions. There you meet the people.
Okay, so take the advice, especially the one that's for free. Then understand the market, be here, and adapt. And Dennis, what can you add?
Yes, meet us at the Smart City Expo and at the TNW conference in Amsterdam. Look for relevant partners. That's it.
All right. Okay, very good. And it's great, Stephanie. Thanks, for coming on stage again here. So I guess that's quite it for today. I want to thank all of our speakers today. Stephanie, in the beginning, thank you for this fantastic introduction, and all of you, Robert, Jürgen, Dennis, for your fantastic input, and also sharing so much advice, especially from giving practical experience, because I guess that's in the end what it's all about. I mean, you're professionals in that field, dealing not only with the topic but also bringing the companies together. And making companies successful. So I guess there were quite a number of key takeaway points here for our audience. Thank you, dear audience, for being with us, posting some questions, showing interest in this topic, taking the time. And there is nothing else than again thanking you all for being with us today. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully see you soon in Germany.
Yeah. See you soon. Bye.